Next from New York City. Hey, Sean.
A lot of robots. They work in our industry. It's
Tell
all
me
like
about it.
it's all groupthink. It's like one big bubble, and they all talk to each other, and they all say the same cliches, talking points. Pretty amazing. I'm never going on your quiz show, by the way, ever. I'm not doing it.
You'd win. Come on.
I sit there at home, and I'm always the last one with the buzzer on Jeopardy, so I'm not doing it. All right, have a good show tonight. Thank you, and welcome to Hannity. All right, a lot of breaking news tonight. Pressure is now mounting on the Attorney General of the United States tonight, Jeff Sessions. Robert Mueller's partisan witch hunt is now completely jumped off the rails, and yet real crimes, a collusion, featuring Hillary's bought and paid for dirty Russian dossier, are totally ignored. We have rampant FISA abuse, FISA judges lied to, all unchecked, bias, corruption, nepotism at the highest levels of our federal bureaucracy, all going unpunished. Jeff Sessions nowhere to be found. It's sad. And during his interview with Ainsley Earhardt, the president slammed his absentee attorney general. We're going to show you the tape. And as Mueller's witch hunt is raging on, we'll show you how one Manafort juror trashes the special counsel. Plus, we have all the latest examples from the media's obsession of the day. You're going to love it. Impeachment. Impeached 222 times in a day. We got all of them tonight. We're going to use the Mueller model also, a Hannity investigation. We, with the help of a brand new book that is now destined to be a bestseller, it's shining a light on the lucrative revolving door. A lot of FBI, DOJ guys, government guys, private sector, millions of dollars. Wait till you hear the millions of dollars James Comey and Robert Mueller himself made. And we'll also cover the horrific, sad, tragic murder of Molly Tibbetts, all at the hands of an illegal immigrant. Some on the left are so absolutely cruel to the victim of what is a senseless act of violence that if we start protecting people, we can stop this. All right, stay tuned. We got a jam-packed opening monologue as we kick it off. All right, less than 1 month after being sworn in, the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, he abandoned his post, completely recused himself from all things Russia and Hillary. This has been a tremendous disservice to the president and the country that he serves. Now, knowing he would do this, he did have an obligation to tell the President of the United States. Now, here we are a year and a half later. Look what the Russia investigation has become. Sessions recused himself from all of it. It's now morphed into, let's see, New York taxicab medallions, taxes, tax forms and counts, bank applications, fraud, payouts to porn stars, and what is a partisan witch hunt against the president and, frankly, everyone around him. An unmitigated disaster for so many personally. Lives upended and literally uprooted, and the entire country as a result. During his interview with Ainsley Earhardt, the president had this to say about his absentee attorney general. Let's take a look.
Will you fire Sessions?
Well, I'll tell you what. As I've said, I wanted to stay uninvolved. But when everybody sees what's going on in the Justice Department, I always put justice now with quotes, it's a very, very sad day. Jeff Sessions recused himself, which he shouldn't have done, or he should have told me. Even my enemies say that Jeff Sessions should have told you that he was going to recuse himself, and then you wouldn't have put him in. He took the job, and then he said, I'm going to recuse myself. I said, what kind of a man is this? And by the way, he was on the campaign. You know, the only reason I gave him the job because I felt loyalty. He was an original supporter. He was on the campaign. He knows there was no collusion.
Why hasn't Jeff Sessions done a thing? And today, Sessions, then, what does he do? He indirectly responds to the president in a statement. Well, Rod Rosenstein maybe wrote it in part. While I am Attorney General, the actions of the Department of Justice will not be improperly influenced by political considerations. Okay, is the Attorney General, Jeff, I've known you for years. Do you not realize the shocking two-tiered system of justice in the country under your rule as Attorney General? You being the head of the Department of Justice? Here's the questions I posed to the Attorney General's office today. Does he believe that Hillary Clinton violated the law with that private server that had top secret classified information, intelligence? Does he believe she obstructed justice? 33,000 subpoenaed emails erased, hard drives erased, devices destroyed. Does the Attorney General, is he concerned at all that Hillary's exoneration was written as early as May of 2016 by Peter Strzok, James Comey, before 17 witnesses, even Hillary, were even interviewed? Attorney General Sessions, do you believe that FISA court judges were lied to? Are you concerned that multiple FISA applications didn't reveal that Hillary Clinton and the DNC paid for the dirty Russian dossier, Russian influence in the election? Is the Attorney General concerned no one in the FBI ever bothered to verify, corroborate independently the contents of the dirty Russian dossier? Is the Attorney General concerned about the wave of firings, resignations, demotions at his Department of Justice because of rampant anti-Trump bias, corruption, lying, abuse of power? Mr. Attorney General, why does Bruce Ohr still have a job at the DOJ? In other words, Mr. Attorney General, where are you? Now, I did contact the Attorney General's office today. They were kind enough to get back to me. But like a lot of things, they said they can't talk about ongoing or potentially ongoing investigations. It gives us no information. We don't see anything. Nothing. We got the Horowitz report. When are we going to get to the bottom? When are these people that have abused their power ever going to get the indictments they deserve? Do we have a two-tier justice system? If that's the case, just let us know now and we'll all give up. Because if we have a two-tier justice system, we lose this constitutional republic. Sarah Carter reporting tonight that two longtime Sessions allies, Senator Lindsey Graham, Senator Chuck Grassley, they would support the president's decision to fire the Attorney General. Here's what's really happening. It's much deeper. The president clearly has lost confidence in the Attorney General. And frankly, based on his comments today, the Attorney General doesn't seem to like the president either. But the president, he does have the absolute power to fire the Attorney General. But the president also knows politically, because of the Mueller witch hunt and everything that has ensued, he's not going to get a fair shake. And the media will go absolutely nuts. The Democrats will go insane. The Attorney General is incapable, seemingly, of understanding a massive double standard that has emerged in America. He is a top law enforcement officer, two-tier justice system. That's what's going on in the country. Mr. Attorney General, speak to us. Do you care? Meanwhile, unbridled by a real mandate, look at Mueller's witch hunt. Rolls on. The one focused on anything and everything except Trump-Russia collusion. The one that ignores mountains of evidence that we have broken, much of which on this program. A lot of it includes Russia. It is a travesty in the American system of justice. Paul Manafort found guilty, charges, never would have been investigated if that man wasn't appointed in this witch hunt. Nothing to do with Russian collusion, nothing to do with Trump, nothing to do with the campaign of 2016. Michael Cohen's plea deal, nothing to do with Russia, collusion, the 2016 campaign, and implicated the president in no crimes. Even Alan Dershowitz, liberal professor from Harvard, he actually bravely went on Conspiracy TV, MSNBC, to spread a little bit of reality and truth to the absolute shock and awe of one host. This is priceless. Take a look.
Prosecutors have said Michael Cohen broke the law, and Michael Cohen says the president told me to do it. You said last night as well that you believe that every president breaks the law during an election. I mean, really? Does that make it okay?
I said.
Your quote is that every candidate violates election laws when they run for president.
Let me tell you what I said. Candidates violate election laws all the time. Go back and you can get back to any campaign. You'll find violations. It doesn't. But let me be very clear, because you're not letting me make my point. You're not letting me make my point. My point is the president doesn't break the law if, as a candidate, he contributes to his own campaign. So if he gave $1 million to two women as hush money, there would be no crime.
This is the face of someone that lives in that media bubble that Tucker and I were talking about. seemingly hearing the truth for the very first time. It is so obvious the mainstream media has been doing the Democrats' bidding, and this has been going on for a long time. They loved Obama. They never talked about Obama's failures. They loved Hillary Clinton, openly rooting in this case for Donald Trump to be impeached. Perfectly demonstrated yesterday, one MSNBC host literally held the hand of one-time New York Times so-called journalist, needed his hand held when he called for impeachment. This is priceless, too.
I supported the impeachment of Bill Clinton in '98 because I think he had disgraced his office and he had committed perjury. I think it is consistent on conservatives and Republicans to support the same for President Trump now, given that the campaign finance violations are much graver, much more felonious.
Stevens, take my hand. You're looking for consistency. We're talking about politics.
I know. But nonetheless, Congress has an obligation, and it's why Democrats should be put in office in November.
Good luck to you, brother.
These people don't know the law. They don't know the Constitution. They're a bunch of talking head idiots. They do no research. They do no investigative reporting. What you just saw is a small example of the media's nonstop, breathless obsession, Trump impeachment. Look at Newsbuster studies, CBS, NBC touting impeachment on their nightly broadcast. Get this. Yesterday, over at fake news CNN, conspiracy TV, MSNBC, the word impeachment is mentioned a whopping 222 times. For nearly 3 days, this impeachment hysteria peddling, it's been nonstop. Don't believe me? We got the tape.
Given the events of today, the likelihood of impeachment, I'm not saying it's high necessarily, but it certainly went up.
Impeachment.
Impeached.
Impeachment. Impeachment.
Impeachment.
Impeachment.
Impeachment.
Impeachment.
The president is clearly guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors. He should resign his office or be impeached.
Today, the Trump presidency took a giant step toward impeachment.
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 Impeachment implications are now in the air.
Impeachment.
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 If it is a crime, it certainly is an impeachable offense.
Impeach Trump.
Impeachment.
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 Impeachment is a word in play here in Washington today. The impeachment.
Impeachment.
Impeachment. Impeachment.
Impeachment here.
Impeachment.
Impeachment.
Should the president be impeached?
Impeachment.
Impeachment.
There are Democrats who say there's now more than enough to impeach.
Is itself an impeachable offense.
Consider something as serious as impeachment.
Impeachment. The impeachment process.
Impeachment.
Impeachment.
Right. The president will be removed from office after an impeachment trial.
On the impeachment issue.
Talk about impeachment.
I want to talk about impeachment.
Impeachment right now.
Do not talk about impeachment.
Like remember when they were saying, shh, hole. Well, that's basically what you're getting in so-called news coverage. There you have it, the echo chamber at its worst. And sadly, the media is just one part of these forces working to destroy the president since the day he came down the escalator. We have an important report to bring you. Pay very close attention to this from another force looking to take down the presidency. That's the deep state. All right, so everyone in the deep state, they don't talk about Russia collusion 2016, Trump, Russia anymore. No, instead they have decided, well, they can't find anything there, so let's move on to anything and everything else besides Russia. And Clinton paying for Russian lies to get warrants on people, presenting them to judges, lying to judges, fraud on judges as if they're gospel truth, but they never verified it. Tonight we're going to let's follow the Democrat Mueller model. We're going to investigate the investigators, and we're going to follow the money. There's a new book from the Government Accountability Institute, Seamus Bruner. It's titled Compromise. This is the same people that gave us Clinton Cash. Remember the best-selling book? Peter Schweitzer told us all about Uranium One. Still haven't got to the bottom of that either. This is how money and politics drive FBI corruption. Now, it is shining a light tonight on one troubling aspect of the deep state. Oh, and the FBI even. At the top levels, not rank and file. They have a revolving door between the federal government and the private sector. And the amount of money is staggering. According to Bruner in his new report, top bureaucratic sycophants leveraging their government experience, and yeah, security clearances mean money, apparently to garner huge payouts from large corporations. For example, Mr. Integrity himself, Jim Comey, his net worth skyrocketed by more than 4,000% after he left the DOJ in 2005. In 1 year alone, 2009, he made $6.1 million for his work with the contractor Lockheed Martin. That's 1 year. He worked 4 other years. We don't know how much he made those years. Those numbers have never been revealed, interestingly enough. And Mr. Integrity Comey, I don't remember him ever telling us this. And this came shortly, by the way, after the FBI, then under Comey, best friend forever, BFF Robert Mueller, granted a huge billion-dollar, well, boondoggle project to Lockheed Martin that some, see for what it is. And after Comey took the reins of the FBI in 2013, Robert Mueller cashed in big time himself. He started a consulting firm where he made millions of dollars representing clients he had previously doled out contracts to as the FBI director. And according to this book, 2 of Mueller's former clients were Facebook and Apple. Guess what? They're cooperating with the special counsel investigation. Oh, can you say conflict of interest? How is it possible we've never heard about any of this before? Now, if you think this sounds sketchy, corrupt, and a little bit of financial incestuous behavior here, because it is. Now, government officials using their status, leverage, and by the way, in all fairness, it may not be nefarious, professional, background, experience, all while acting like irreproachable super patriots. Remember, they knew better than us about who to elect in 2016. Now, we did reach out to Mueller and Comey. Yeah, they didn't respond. Shocking. In moments, we're going to cover the government's revolving door in detail. We're going to talk to Seamus Brewer and Peter Schweitzer. First, let's turn to the horrific, sad tragedy that has happened in the case of Molly Tibbetts, an illegal immigrant confessing to her murder. And today, Fox News has learned that the preliminary autopsy report is showing she was killed by sharp force injuries. And according to reports, the attorney for the murder suspect called his illegal immigrant client, quote, an all-American kid. And just moments ago, the defense attorney gave a bizarre interview with our own Martha MacCallum. Take a look.
We know that he's an illegal immigrant who arrived from Mexico and has lived in Iowa for 4 to 7 years. So I fail to see how that's irrelevant or how bringing that in is not part of the facts that surround this case. How is it not?
That's rhetoric.
He came here illegally is just part of the equation. So to say that that's bringing politics into it, I think you're putting rhetoric and point of view on it.
Well, you're trying to say that his state of mind was in such a way. We're dealing with an individual that has a middle school education, so his perception is entitled to equal protection and due process. Now, you can jump to it and just say, these are the facts, but that doesn't make them facts because you say so, Martha.
They plead guilty today? Did this girl die? Meanwhile, some on the left, they're actually treating this tragic death of Molly Tibbetts in what is really can only be described as the cruelest way possible. Last night, we showed you how one MSNBC guest called Tibbetts, quote, a girl from Iowa that Fox News talks about. And now the rhetoric from Elizabeth Warren, frankly, just as heartless. Let's take a look at liberal compassion.
Sorry for the family here, and I know this is hard, not only for the family, but for the people in her community, the people throughout Iowa. But one of the things we have to remember is we need an immigration system that is effective, that focuses on where real problems are. Last month, I went down to the border, and I saw where children had been taken away from their mothers. I met with those mothers who had been lied to, who didn't know where their children were, who hadn't had a chance to talk to their children. And there was no plan for how they would be reunified with their children.
Actually, Donald Trump fixed that, Elizabeth. And where were you in the Obama years when it happened? Pretty despicable, all political. We'll have more on this horrific, horrible death later in the show. All right, joining us now first with more on the government's revolving door, the author of the brand new book, Compromised, How Money and Politics, as we've been saying, drive FBI corruption. Associate Director of Research for the Government Accountability Institute, Seamus Bruner. The President of the Government Accountability Institute, Peter Schweitzer. He brought us the best-selling book, Clinton Cash. Look, I want to be very clear. I believe in capitalism, Seamus. I believe people should be paid for their knowledge, their background, their experience. What I'm concerned about is, look at the James Comey case. So he worked for Lockheed Martin from 2005 to 10?
Correct.
Okay. Did he ever disclose all of this relationship before? Because we only have the amount of money he made for 1 year. That would be 2009. Is that correct?
That's correct. Although we did follow the money and found that there were at least 160,000 stocks and stock options given to James Comey. And at the time, 2009, that would have been worth upwards of $30 million. So it's not just the $6 million in 2009.
I don't remember seeing. Is this new information you have?
No, this is in the book.
Okay, because when I read it, I didn't understand. So we know that James Comey, you're saying, made $36 million at least, most of it in 2009, or some of that stock could have been from earlier years, 2005 to 2009?
Correct. From 2005 to 2009. By 2009, James Comey has over 160,000 shares of Lockheed Martin stock. And in 2009...
And didn't the top representatives, didn't they give him power of attorney to sign off on contracts, if I remember reading in your book?
Correct.
Okay. And by the way, Lockheed Martin is great, but they have billions of dollars in government contracts. They were working on, I guess, the next generation of human identification technology, for example.
That's correct. Among many people think of Lockheed Martin as a jet manufacturer, but in fact, their IT and computer technology department is one of their largest divisions.
Okay, so
it's great work, and I want to make that clear.
$36 million, but we don't know the salary for 4 of the 5 years that Comey made. Stock options and $6.1 million in 1 year, correct? That's what we know about. $36 million.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct, and it's one of the problems with these disclosures.
Did Robert Mueller sign off on the other end on the FBI on these deals? Was it him? Did he approve these contracts, and did his relationship with Comey help?
Well, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in these contracts, and even $1 billion. So it's strains credulity to think that Robert Mueller did not sign off on these contracts.
Because this would be for the FBI. Peter, let's bring you in and let you give some context and texture here. And again, maybe it's not nefarious at all. I don't know. That is an insane amount of money. And the fact that it's the two guys, did they both sign off on this?
Yeah, I mean, if you're the FBI director, say you're Robert Mueller or you're James Comey, and you have major intelligence contracts, as the FBI director, you're going to be aware of and sign off on those contracts. And the problem is, Sean, that some of these contracts are competitive, but some of them are non-competes. Even those that are competitive contracts, you get complaints. For example, IBM complained about the Lockheed Martin contract, the bidding process, and how that was carried forward. It's a classic example of crony capitalism, and as much as people might want to think that when you walk into the J. Edgar Hoover building, suddenly you're immune to human nature, it's not true. The same sort of crony capitalism and forces that affect people at the Pentagon.
Because we're going to continue to do follow-ups on this. This is an important question, because it doesn't necessarily have to be nefarious. Did they disclose all of this? Because I never knew about any of it, and I read a lot about these men. Did they disclose this anywhere? Real quick, Peter.
No, they did not. They did minimum disclosures only when they went into public office. They did not disclose the gaps. So there are serious gaps that we don't know how much money was made.
We need to find out about the other 4 years. We'll have more on this soon. Joe diGenova, David Schoen next.